The time has come, the days have vanished like leaves in the wind because we're finally about to get our first WWE pay-per-view since WrestleMania 35, and if you're anything like me, you're a bit like, nah, it's okay, but I probably could be a little more excited. But we won't worry about that just yet because we've got a few days before that does go down, so instead, we will take the finger of power and we will look at last night's episode of SmackDown and we will give the good bits an up. And unfortunately, we will give the bad bits a down. Also, while you are here, there's a little button over there or somewhere on YouTube that says subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to WhatCulture, why don't you click it and you can be part of our lovely little family. Let's up those downs. Okay, the wildcard rule is not good. Now, I don't like starting these videos off with a negative vibe, but when SmackDown begins and it's the exactly same show as Raw, you got to call a spade and you got to call this nonsense out for what it is. But yes, Roman Reigns walked to the ring and he said, haha, I'm Roman Reigns and my new best buddy is The Miz. So The Miz then came out. So like I say, this was identical. It's a copy and paste job from Monday nights. The only difference being that Roman Reigns doesn't have his own TV show. There's something called like The Reigns Report. They're going to do that now. Down. And from there, I guess it did pick up a little bit. Elias and Shane McMahon came out and they really hate Roman Reigns and they really hate The Miz and they told them to hit the bricks. Apparently, Shane McMahon has lost all the power that he had around about 24 hours ago because The Miz and Reigns just went, nope, we're not going to do that. This summoned Eric Rowan and Daniel Bryan, the tag team champions, to help Shane McMahon and Elias beat down the good guys until the Usos arrived to balance the odds. And yes, let's start counting it up like we did on Raw. In terms of the wild card rule, that's 2. The Miz and the Usos. Don't worry, I'm going to explode about this later. This really was a weak start to the show though, especially on SmackDown that usually does a great job in setting up what you're going to see later. I mean, so many times in the past you go, I'm pumped for this show. Also, we'll just tie it in here because we may as well. Later on in the evening, it was announced that yes, it will be Eric Rowan and Daniel Bryan, the WWE Tag Team SmackDown champions, taking on the Usos at Money in the Bank. But it's on the kickoff show because for some reason, WWE just hates the tag team division. Don't you, WWE? Down. All 4 bad guys were then backstage afterwards and Shane O'Mac made a match for later on that's going to be a 4-on-3 handicap match. And he took The Miz out of it. And if the A-lister does get involved, their contest at Money in the Bank is going to be cancelled, it's going to be called off. Kind of hope that happens, to be honest. We got rocking and rolling then because we did have a match between Andrade, Ali, Randy Orton and Finn Balor, and there was no way that wasn't going to be entertaining just a little bit. As it turned out, it was entertaining quite a lot. You're allowed to be a bit perplexed that yes, WWE took half the Money in the Bank people and threw them into a match as opposed to making you wait a few days, but whatever. Like I said, I had a good time. There were some words from Randy and Andrade beforehand to let us know that they're going to win the ladder match. And it was just like an all-out crazy contest, especially the bit when Mustafa Ali went for his 450, he missed, he rolled out of it, and he rolled right into an RKO. If you're thinking to yourself, I wonder if Simon popped up from his chair and went like, awooga! You're absolutely right, I did. And there was a couple of more surprises in there because one, Andrade won the thing after he hit Finn Balor with the hammerlock DDT, so hopefully once Money in the Bank is done, we can segue into an Intercontinental title program between those two, but also, as Andrade was climbing up the ladder to go like, tranquilo, I will win, Ricochet appeared, and he threw Andrade off there, and he held the Money in the Bank briefcase in his hands. That's right, get your notepad up. We're up to 3 people in the wildcard rule nonsense thing. Right, we'll take a few segments and shove them in here because I've got something to say about it. Throughout the night, we did have 3 specific promos I want to reference, and they came from Carmella, they came from End of the Moon, and they came from Bayley. But for some reason, this is how WWE now wants to present said promos to you. The name of the competitor comes up and literally fills the screen. It then cuts to them, and they're holding like a selfie camera, even though it's probably not, and they proceed to say the most scripted things ever. And I ain't blaming the people involved for doing this. They have to say what they're told to say, but as always, it's a little bit like this. The Money in the Bank match is this Sunday, and I want to tell everyone that at the Money in the Bank match that's happening on Sunday, I, Simon Miller, am going to climb the ladder and I am going to grab the briefcase in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And when I grab that briefcase in the Money in the Bank ladder match, the whole world will know that I am the Money in the Bank winner, and only then will my career become a thing. Why is that? And why are we just saying buzzwords over and over again? That is not how people talk. For the love of everything, let these people use real words and let them come out of their mouth like beautiful sonnets or poets or something. Down. Also, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods had a chat in the back, and Kofi was like, look, you can't come out for the Kevin Owens show later, Xavier, because you've got a bad back. And Woods was like, cool, man, that's what I'll do. I'm going to chill, play some video games. It was Charlotte Flair out next, and I don't know, man, much like a lot of SmackDown this week, it just felt so lackluster, and like WWE really didn't have a clue about what they should do in order to continue the build and to continue the hype. She came out, she got on the mic, she said, look, me and Becky Lynch have been fighting for ages, but this Sunday I'll end that rivalry and I will beat her and I will take her title. They did air a cool video package, that was nice. It went through their NXT days and kind of sold the story a bit more. But did I want to see this, like see the fight, see the match any more than I did before this happened? No, I didn't. And therefore you have to say that it failed. So can you believe it? That's another down. Right, Lacey Evans also then cut a promo backstage, and I don't know whether or not that ties into the whole wildcard thing, but I'm going to assume that it must do because she's on the show. It's not like she was broadcasting this from Raw, and whoever's in charge of that stupid thing went, well, actually, no, that one doesn't count. So that, my friends, is 4. And I'm going to recount them. I'll probably forget, but I'll try. The Miz, he's been there. The Usos, Ricochet, and now Lacey Evans. So if we see anybody else from Raw on this show, I'm going to have, like I say, I'm going to have a meltdown, the Miller meltdown. I do like the Aleister Black promos, though. He sits in a dark room and he says cool, quirky things, and it just creates an atmosphere and an aura around him. Sooner or later, he will have to be back in the ring and have to start winning matches, but until we do that, he's protected, and I feel like he's growing up. It was in the handicap match that was announced at the start of the show between Roman Reigns and the Usos, and they were taking on Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan, Eric Rowan, and Elias. And look, it was fine. It was nothing special. It was enjoyable while it lasted, and because mostly everything on this show felt like nothing, I'm going to give it up. The finish will probably irk you, but let's hope come Sunday WWE makes amends with all of this and balance it out. But after Daniel Bryan had hit the running knee onto Jay and Roman Reigns and Rowan were fighting on the outside, Shane McMahon sneakily tagged himself in when nobody was looking, and he gave the coast to coast to Jay Uso, and yes, Shane McMahon got the pin. 1, 2, 3. But look, he is the best in the world. Jay Uso should be proud that he got to face him to begin with. Then, of course, The Miz ran out with a chair to chase off all the heels, and fair play to the commentary team. At least they said, oh, it doesn't count now because the match was over. But I would like to go back to the point that Shane McMahon, I thought, had all the power in the world, so surely he should have said, Miz, you're not allowed to come out for the rest of the show. Even when the match is over, if you come out, I'm going to cancel it. You know, it's WWE. If I'm going to start looking at that stuff, I may as well take my head and stick it into a toilet bowl, because that would make as much sense as what I saw here. And then I did indeed lose my mind, and funnily enough, I'm not referring to the mind losing that I was referencing earlier, because I'm a positive dude. I mostly do walk away for the majority of WWE shows and go, I enjoyed it to a certain degree, but every now and then my armor gets hit so hard that it explodes into 1,000 pieces, and I'm as naked as the day I'm born. But towards the start of the show, Corey Graves had told us that we were going to get a brand new episode of Bray Wyatt's Firefly Funhouse, and I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. Over the last few weeks, we haven't been getting new episodes on SmackDown. We've just been repeating everything we saw on Raw. But again, this is WWE. Things change on a whim. Like I just blinked like 4 times. Vince McMahon probably changed his mind 92 times within those 4 blinks. So I was like, cool, I'll take a new Firefly Funhouse. It's probably the best thing on WWE TV at the moment. Well, no, they didn't do that. So I have to ask, what the hell is going on? They did just replay the one that we had seen on Monday night, and don't get me wrong, that is absolutely fine. It's the best one that Bray's done so far, and I love his new crazy Beetlejuice mask gimmick. I think it's got loads of potential, and maybe we've actually rehabbed the character, and nobody believed that about a year ago. How does any of this make logical sense though? WWE has introduced a rule where Raw and SmackDown superstars can wildcard across each brand, meaning what they want you, the audience, to do is watch both Raw and watch both SmackDown. But here, they're insinuating the Raw and SmackDown audiences are completely different, and I'm just meant to think, oh, it's going to be a brand new one, even though it's not a brand new one. It's only a brand new one if you didn't watch Raw, but according to WWE, you should be watching Raw. So if you tell me something new is coming, and then it's not new, I feel shortchanged. I was excited as soon as I heard Corey Graves say those words. And that was even worse, because Graves, when he did utter this sentence, pretended like he hadn't seen it. And I know you've seen it, Corey. I saw your reaction on Monday night. I saw it with my eyes, and my eyes don't lie. And if they do, boy howdy, do I have a problem. Down. In fact, no, you pissed me off. Brown down. We then got Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville taking on Asuka and Kairi Sane, who are now called the Kabuki Warriors. Loads of people are going mad about that online. I don't care, especially because those two apparently chose their name. What I do care about is that this trio feels really awkward, and I don't know why. It's like they don't fit together. It's like they're walking to the ring and they don't even know the other one is there. Match was fine though, even though the finish was a little bit ridiculous. Sonya Deville had Asuka beat. For some reason, still tagged in Mandy Rose, who didn't do another move, just went to cover Asuka, so Asuka rolled her up. But look, it did what it had to do. It ticked some boxes, so you can give it an up. I'm also going to give another up to the Iconics, who are on commentary. I thought they were genuinely very entertaining from start to finish. Annoying, but they're meant to be annoying. Quite like the Iconics. They won me over. We then had an interview with Lars Sullivan that was being conducted by Kayla Braxton, but nothing happened because Braxton was so scared, she just tried to ask her question, but again was terrified and her voice broke. And the whole time, Lars Sullivan did this: you let me know when it gets awkward. Right, I've got to stop. It's making my eyes water. I did like our closing segment though, and at least even though it was the Kevin Owens show, we did something, just a little bit different with that format. Also, Kevin Owens, as we know, is my bae. It started in the back with KO reminding us of what a badass he's been ever since he arrived on the main roster, and he even showed us a video package to prove it. And given that with Charlotte and whatever else we saw on the show, there's been a lot of people using Premier Pro CC in the last 7 days, which is more impressive because they're doing it during the European tour. Eventually, Kofi Kingston got bored, so he just walked out to the ring even though Owens hadn't arrived, and he tried to welcome the host to his own show. Kevin was never going to go for that, and he went, no, Kofi, you can stay there. I'm going to stay here. And that's how things are going to stay. Eventually, he did go out there because he had to. Otherwise, this would have been the most boring angle in the world. And they did get into it until Sami Zayn arrived to help his former best friend. Now, I like this. Even though Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have been done to death, I get a kick out of it. But that is 5 people. That is 5 people in the wildcard rule. Again, I'll go through them in case you think I'm wrong. But I told you about my lying eyes. I saw Ricochet. I saw The Miz. I saw the Usos. I saw Lacey Evans. And now I saw Sami Zayn. 5 times. 5 times. That, of course, also brought Xavier Woods out, and he got beaten up in around about 3 seconds because that's all Xavier Woods does nowadays. And eventually Kofi Kingston got the upper hand, and he gave the trouble in paradise to Sami Zayn, as Kevin Owens does that thing where you moonwalk back down the aisleway looking really scared. That's just what wrestlers do. I got so mad I can't remember if I gave that Sami Zayn wildcard thing a down. Obviously, that gets a down as well. And now I know you're looking at the counters going, oh my gosh, this must be the worst episode of SmackDown ever. It wasn't. It was just so poorly put together that you couldn't make heads or tail of it, and it was just so subdued. This is meant to be a go-home show for a pay-per-view, and instead it felt like a jigsaw puzzle where all the pieces have been thrown in the air. And again, the wildcard rule is not helping anything. I was intrigued last week. I thought they actually did better 7 days ago, but now, like I say, it's just a mess. It's just a mess on the floor, and there's a rumor going around that apparently the Raw and SmackDown writing teams have been pushed together. My word, you can feel it. You can feel it in the air. SmackDown was good for ages, and all of a sudden, it's gone off the rails. And not terribly. I'm not saying it was the worst show ever, but I am saying now that we get to the point where I have to up and down the whole show, it's got to go down. It just does. The good didn't outweigh the bad. And that doesn't always tie into the ups and downs counter. Someone was going crazy at me in Twitter the other day. We do it segment by segment, and then we take the feel of the show. And unfortunately, the feel for this week's SmackDown, as I say, gets it down. I like being negative. Now I've got to go and be sad in my sad hole. Didn't think about that, did you, Vince McMahon? Sad hole. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of SmackDown. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com, read yourself some articles. Follow WhatCulture on Twitter, WhatCulture WWE. watch more videos here on WhatCulture Wrestling. Especially ups and downs, you've got to catch up. My name is Simon from WhatCulture. Thank you for joining me as we give the good bits an up and the bad bits a down. I never say this, but of course for tuning in, you all get ups.